Hey, welcome. I'm so happy you're here. I'm Dr. Ariel Hammond, and this is the Enrichment Entrepreneur, a podcast for current and aspiring entrepreneurs who are in the business of helping kids thrive. We're talking after school programs, summer camps, tutoring, enrichment, the people and places that show up for kids outside the classroom. I'm still building right alongside you, and that's exactly why we're here, to learn, grow, and figure this out together.
Let's go!
Hi, welcome back. If you are returning and if you're new, so glad to have you here. I'm Ariel, and this is the Enrichment Entrepreneur Community. So I wanted to talk today about how to start a kids enrichment business specifically that has after-school programs. There are a lot of things to consider when you have programs that are specifically working with kids after they get out of school. So if I had to start over again from scratch in 2026, there are some things that I would do differently and a few things I did in the beginning that accelerated our growth and success that I wanted to share. A few people have reached out to me from the podcast, and some are starting their journey to get going. Also, side note, I have to hurry up and record this before my kids wake up. And so I didn't have time to get ready yet. I just came in from the gym, but an upside, I call that like silver lining? The pump, right? See a little muscle there? Okay. 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 And let's not edit that out. If you're listening, you don't see the gains, but yes. The biceps are bicepping. All right, back on track. So I want to start with the decision you have to make before you do anything, which is what model you want to have. You can have a facility-based business or studio-based, or you can have a mobile business where you go to schools and you go to places. And I've talked to people that do both, and that do one or the other, that started with one, now do the other. And there are real upsides and just different considerations. But the real upside to being studio-based is that you aren't just limited to that hour after school when most enrichment programs run. You get to make your own schedule. You can stack programs. The community comes to you, and you can have weekend programs, all those different things. And if we just look at it on the surface, some of us might be resistant or a little trepidatious about having the overhead of a commercial lease and the bills that come with that. But over time, you might want to compare, because for those of us who work in schools and have the mobile or itinerant business, we still have to pay facility fees, rental fees for most of our partnerships. If I were getting started today, I would start with charter schools, independent schools, because most of them are very flexible with charging fees. So if you're just getting started and every dollar counts, that would be an angle I would start with, the local charter school in your community. If you're not at those schools, the rest of the schools are going to charge. So you have to do your analysis of the numbers, like what makes sense for your situation when you scale to a certain level, or you're at a ceiling where you can't scale beyond what you're currently doing, given your mobile model, that it may be time to do the math on a studio-based model. So that's one thing. And the relationship management is different. So yeah, there are a lot of different considerations in that area. One thing about the mobile enrichment business is that it is harder to scale, and it is also harder to start, but it's cheaper. So it's also harder to find good advice for and good resources for. When you have a facility, that takes out some scheduling complexity. It also makes it so that you can quality check what's happening in your programs from every moment. You could just look. I'll have 15 going each day during the school year. I can't be in 15 schools at once. So I have to choose, and it's hard. So yeah, that's also a consideration. And many people, and even franchises in this area, will offer both models, and lots of beginning enrichment entrepreneurs in space will start off with mobile businesses and then build up their reputation, right? And build up their customer base and all that. And then they establish roots and then have a facility, and then they can do both. So, but when you're in a mobile business, know that the complexity that comes with that, um, is it makes it harder to sustain and to create systems and organization for. So just keep that in mind. If I were starting a day, I wouldn't waste so much time trying to configure like platforms and tools that were meant for facility-based businesses for mine. I wouldn't have paid so much for them because it just doesn't work. So yeah, I just would have stayed scrappy until I found the solution that really met the needs of my business, because a lot of time was wasted. Um, the second thing I would do once I figured out, okay, am I going to start off with a studio or just mobile? I would get my first school partnership. So if I'm choosing to be mobile, then I need to figure out who's going to be that first champion that says, okay, I know you. Yes, I'll let you do the program just because I know you. That's how my first program started. And I thought that as a principal, I had a network, that it would be easier, but that didn't have the advantage I thought it would until I went to a science event, a community science night, and I set up a table. I was invited. I put a bunch of like Lego and different activities on the table and just information. I wasn't even too sure about my offer, but then I saw a previous colleague of mine who's an elementary school principal. He said, "Oh, what do you do?" And I gave him a long list of things because at that point I didn't know exactly what I was doing. So I thought I'll offer you everything. I'll do in-class field trips. I'll do birthday parties. I'll do one-day sessions. I'll do staff community building things. I mean, I was doing so much, like offering just anything I could, anything I thought people would be interested in. And he said, "Oh, you do after school programs? Let's do that. Let's plan one." And so we planned an after school program and a camp. And that was my first partnership. And I found that once I had the first one, the other ones naturally followed, but it took me months just to get that first one. My emails, people didn't really respond to, and calls, people need information and to digest that. And when you call a school, you're not going to get the principal's line. You're not going to get through to the principal's line. You're going to get the person who answers the phone, the secretary at the school, and they'll take your message, sure. But, if you're lucky, they'll say, "Oh, send the information to me. I'll look at it and I'll get it to the right person. I'll get it to our PTO handles this. I'll get it to them. Our assistant principal handles this. I'll get it to them." But you have to have something that they can look at that immediately starts to create that trust because you're an unknown to them. So in that area, when you don't have a relationship yet to say, "Oh, we have programs at this location," that's the hard sell. So just find that person who just knows you. And if you have kids like in elementary school, ask the school. If you have a niece or a nephew currently in elementary school, if a school is right up the street from you, "Hey, I'm in the community. I just live a block away." Like something that puts you head and shoulders above someone cold calling from out of state, to get their programs into that school. Like what is unique and different about you? So build that first relationship and show up in person as well. You can bring donuts for the staff, just something that makes you memorable. And once you have that, you'll get more momentum. Quick break. I'm building NROPS, an all-in-one operations platform built specifically for kids enrichment, entrepreneurs, and operators. I built it because I needed it. Go to getenrops.com to learn more and get on the list. Okay, back to the episode. So what I would advise you to do is if you're just getting started, just map out your network. Who knows someone in a local elementary school if you are serving elementary students or whatever age range you're serving? Who knows someone, a teacher, an instructional assistant, whatever, some inside person at a school near you. Find that person and get going and ask for the introduction or just reach back out if you already have that yourself. And if not, then you can always just show up and say, okay, I don't know anyone that has a relationship I can leverage to have a warm intro. And so I got to go in cold and warm it up as much as possible. And just a tip there is my core belief in how just relationships and work with people is I always want to like give more than I take in the grand scheme of things. And things aren't transactional, evenly, perfectly at all times, but I'm keeping in mind how I can be of value. So you may have to do a lot of research just for that first partnership to figure out, okay, if I don't know anybody at the school down the street and it's the closest to me, I know it'd be a great fit, that I'm going to do all the research I can to find that information about what they actually need. Are they looking for volunteers? Maybe I just do it for free just to start. Like, how can I be of value? Are they having a community cleanup day, fundraiser? Like, how can I start to show up as an active and contributing member of the community, so that when I do make the ask, there's a higher likelihood of me being known to them and having that relationship. So yeah. So consider that. Something else that you'll want to consider is before your first program starts, you do need to have some type of one-pager that you're ready to send to the school staff. Just info, how long your program is, what ages, what program types. They might want a menu if possible. Well, which ones can we choose from? Or what's the pricing for different number of weeks? They might have 8-week terms. That's the most common, 8 to 9 weeks in the fall, winter, and spring. Some go up to 12 or 13 weeks per term. So they might want upfront that pricing transparent. That helps in their decision making because they need to know, is that something that they can put in front of their families confidently, knowing that price won't be a huge barrier for the majority of families. They also may want to know, this is something you should consider, scholarships or financial assistance for those who want to participate. However, the full price is prohibitive to their participation. So have Q&A answers ready in your one-pager there. And have your class size ratios in your document. You should know that before you even start registration, because you got to know when you're going to close it and go to a wait list. So I oscillated a lot with ratios, and I'll give you my journey a little bit with that. So at first I started with a maximum of 12 students per after school program. Then I started looking to my left, looking to my right, and the majority of providers that were in the same schools I was in, their maximums were higher, 16, 18, 20. And that the number seemed high, but I thought, well, they know things I don't know. Let's just copy. Let's just imitate what they do. So that's what I did. And I found that 18, when a program really filled to 18, for older grade programs, that was okay, but it really depended on the instructor. And I had to have like my best, most masterful, most experienced instructors for those programs. So that limited scheduling flexibility. And just with time, it just didn't feel right to have 18 as the max. I wanted to be able to have a beginning instructor set up for success. I didn't want 18 anymore. So although on the surface it looks like leaving money on the table, I just lowered the maximums to, I think we're at 14 for upper grade programs, and any programs that include younger students, our maximum is 12. So I went right back to where I started. There was wisdom there. And for your situation, it may be very different. With my programs, it's very demanding cognitively for the instructor to make sure that every group is, the robots are working and connected to the tablets and all those different things. And that the codes, wait, this kid's code has a bug. I got to help you out, but you need assistance over there. It's a lot happening. So I chose to put the brand promise over potential um, increased profits from those programs that could have went higher in enrollment. So that's my choice, and that's what I feel good about. But certain other different types of programs, I'm thinking like specifically athletics, the groups might be bigger, and if you have older uh, participants, so just think about that. But be certain as you can, and do your research. For some, it might be, well, I'm okay just looking to my left, looking to my right, and just doing what other people do until I have some impetus that tells me I need to change that. That works too. And if you're just getting started, you can't go wrong starting smaller. If you start larger and you stumble, and that beginning partnership doesn't build your reputation and provide that proof point or that quote that you can put in your one pager or that you can mention when you're trying to get into the next school and the next school, then you really just limited your own growth. So yeah, when in doubt, just start smaller and adjust as needed. And general rules of thumb, that I've done some research across different areas for specific skills-based programs that are more individualized, individual music lessons, things like that. 6 to 8 is the standard. 10 to 14 for STEAM programs is the standard. STEAM, arts, performing arts. And 14 to 18 is typically the max that I see for the elementary school age range. So between 5 and 12 ages, 5 and 12 is where I see typically 14 to 18. And that's just from talking to people in the community and doing my own research. Then wanted to talk about canceling your programs. So no matter what number you're trying to get to with your first program, you might calculate your minimum amount that you need to call it profitable, that pays for your facilities fees, um, that pays for whatever else overhead you have, your materials. When you are just getting started, all of that is out the window. Just let it be a wash, or l- lose that money. And it's an investment. It's an investment in building your business. So just do not cancel that program. If 2 families sign up, great. Show up. That's building trust with that partnership that you are, just getting going. And that's very important, and protecting your reputation from the very beginning. These early customers, and if you have a super small group, that's even more of an opportunity to just knock it out of the park and work through your curriculum, your approach, your management of behavior and things like that. So use it as an ideal um, learning ground or stomping ground. I don't know what that saying is right now. I'm really hoping this makes sense. I feel like I'm rambling a little bit today. Okay, actually, I'm gonna keep this in, because a lesson that I'm learning so much in this business is you just have to show up. Like, showing up puts you ahead of most businesses. Um, and it might not look perfect. You're teaching your first program. You might look back and cringe, or still think of like, wow, if only that was what it is now. But that's okay. You're getting started. You're getting your reps in. Just show up and do the best you can. And time effective. So just get going, put perfectionism to the side for the moment, teach the programs. Don't worry about losing money. Just get those first early fans and that feedback from the kids. Are they lighting up? Are they super excited? Do the parents say, I love this? Do they know what's even happening? How do you communicate what's happening in a way that is then manageable for you over time? How do you manage those relationships with the parents after the program is over, during the program, before it starts, with the kids, with the partner? How do they know what's going on? How do they know what the kids learned? Like those are those questions that you can really take your time and think about. It's so much easier to think about that where you just have one program and one group to use as that opportunity. And so my next tip, if you're just getting started, is to not hire quicker than you have to. So until you reach that point where you're in schools, you are teaching 5 days out of the week, and so you've reached your ceiling for the mobile after school program model, then it's time to bring in an additional instructor. I would even suggest what I did. I taught the programs, and when I knew I needed someone else, when I got to like 4 days a week, then I hired an instructor, and I could then work with them, co-teach with them, guide them, observe, check in, be available for support on that 5th day out of the week. So that is an eventual process. But to start your business, you really can't hand off your reputation. And it's like a little seed, like it's so fragile. You really have to be the one to cultivate it. Um, and once you know from teaching your programs several times over a term or two, you can be more useful for that instructor that you do hire because you've already done it. You can give them tips that builds trust, that keeps them there with you longer. So don't hire before you have to, even if you feel limited by the time that working in your business, takes from you or prevents you from being able to scale. Like just build it first, get your schedule full. And then when you have that additional day, hire your instructor and pour all of your support into them. And that's going to help you with your entire hiring process, support, training process, all of that stuff as well. And something else I would do, just in the beginning, I did this and I would do it again, is I reached out to a few local kids enrichment business owners when I started. And those first conversations were so helpful. I didn't know what they would turn into. They didn't either. It was like the first time having someone in the space reach out. But those people who did look at my email, say, yeah, sure, I'll meet with you. That was so gracious of them. And I still have those relationships to this day. So start building community early. It's never too early to start, really, because as you have those questions with just getting up and going, deciding what types of programs you want to do, deciding your model, you can reach out to others in the space then. We don't gatekeep who we engage with based on, have you started or not? No, you have questions. Ask me. I'm so happy to give you my perspective, my experience, and connect you with other people, other resources that may also be useful. So just reaching out and starting to build those connections early, because people can save you a lot of time just by telling you something super quick. And this work can feel really isolating and lonely. I thought as a principal, I thought that work was lonely because you're the leader in this building alone. Like you're the leader and you don't really have a team of support on your level. If you're lucky, maybe you have an assistant principal, but many don't. So I thought that was isolating, but I still had my peers I could reach out to, mentors that I had in my network. And I didn't realize how valuable that was, created all for myself. This work, it is hard and it gets harder as you face different challenges. So I know you're busy. I'm busy. And when you're busy making time for relationships and building connections, like, okay, I got to teach, like I got to tend to my business. I got to get back to this customer, and I get it, but think about where you want to be in 5 to 10 years. Do you want to start your business and still be in it? Do you want like grand opening, grand closing situation to sustain yourself in this work? I don't want to say you need a tribe, but I'm a strong believer that nothing great that has ever been accomplished has been accomplished alone. So don't struggle if you don't have to. Like, just reach out to people. You're not an inconvenience. That's something that I've battled over time, thinking, oh, if I ask someone for some time to talk to me, they're so busy. And people are just so gracious and people want to help, and people have been helped. Just yesterday, I met with someone who didn't know me from a can of paint. And I really wanted to know a few questions I had. And he said, yeah, I'll meet with you, and met with me. The meeting was supposed to be 30 minutes, met with me over an hour. And I am so grateful for that. Like, it's amazing. So of course, I'm going to carry that with me in my heart when someone reaches out and says, oh, do you have a few minutes to meet? Absolutely. Like, people have poured into me. Of course, I'm going to pour into others. So don't feel weird about that. People want to help you. That's all I'm going to say. I'll stop rambling there. People want to help. So that's what I would do if I was starting an after school business right here, right now, getting my model figured out, being very intentional with that. Getting my first partnership going and just laser focused on just getting that first one, knowing that as soon as you have the first one and you can use that as your talking point, because you better believe I did when I went to these other meetings, I would go in person. I would always try to get them to meet with me in person, because I figured if you just meet me, you'll know, like, you can trust your kids with me. I would mention that first partnership I had. Oh yeah, we're at so-and-so, or, we're at schools and I don't know, mention the community, even though it was like school singular. But yeah, so that's a tip there. Just get that first one. You don't even have to wait till the end of the term to then use that proof point to engender trust with others in the area. And really what you can do is, so that it comes up naturally, that first partnership you have, try to expand in schools that are similar in some way. Like, if your first partnership is in a charter school, then try to go to other charter schools in the area and say, oh yeah, we're familiar with charter schools. We work with, blank, for example. Or now that if you're in a school district, you can then say to the other schools in that school district, they're going to trust you a lot more, because they do their informal, hey, do you know about this person? Mention the school. Oh, we're already an approved vendor for whatever school district that school is in, and that is going to help you so much. So once you have that first one, use that to quickly get similar schools, and then you're good. But yes, I found that works. That's very effective. Once they know you're at a school in that district, even if it's a charter school, that works. And most times people may or may not call or check in, but just knowing that you're an approved vendor, they may look that up, get you further along your pathway. Make sure you know your ratios. Start smaller so that you can be successful. Make sure you're teaching your first programs. Do not scale too fast. When you do have a full schedule, when you get to 4 days per week, hire that instructor so that you can start to get your processes going for your team that you're going to start building out. Yep, okay. My children are awake now. So that is the episode today. I hope this was super helpful. This was really for, I'm thinking of a couple of people who've reached out to me and connected with me on social media and on YouTube wanting to start their businesses. This one isn't for us we've been in it for a while. The hardest thing is just getting started. And so if you're in that place, this is for you. And if you've reached out to me, I've made this for you. I've been thinking about you all. Just start. That's it. And just keep trying. Once you get your first program going, everything will make sense. Questions along the way, reach out, join the community. We're on Facebook, facebook.com, right? Of course, of course. And it's the Enrichment Entrepreneur Community. So please join. I really don't want to be like posting myself and then replying to myself and then posting polls and me being the only person responding to it. Like, that's weird. So if other people can join, that'd be great. That's all I have today. See y'all next time. Bye.
And one more thing. Remember, I'm building NROPS, finally, an all-in-one platform built specifically for kids, enrichment, entrepreneurs, and operators. We're talking everything all in the same place. Finally, from scheduling to instructor management to partner and parent communication to onboarding and registration, all of it. I built it because we need it. So go to getinrops.com to get on the list. See you next episode. And that's a wrap. Know someone who needs to hear this episode? Share it because
Sharing is caring.
if this episode earned it, give us all the stars in a review on whatever platform you're listening on because it helps other enrichment entrepreneurs find this show.
Until next time, keep learning, keep building.